Ben McKee and West Rucker Go Vols 24/7 here on the Plains in Auburn with our full court press following a tough 53-51 loss to Auburn for Tennessee. A valiant effort from Tennessee. I walk away from this game tonight feeling better about Tennessee than I did coming in. That doesn't excuse maybe not executing here and there. Tennessee comes up short in the final 2 minutes, but first I think you tip your hat to both teams for the effort they gave tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these two teams play this kind of game before, and is it the most fun brand of basketball to watch? No, it's not. But when you have two really good coaches who know each other's systems as well as these two, and you have these kind of athletes on the floor, that's how it's going to go sometimes. I mean, these guys get bigger, faster, stronger every year. The court is the same size, so there's a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic, and it's a tough game to officiate. It really is, and it's physical. A lot of teams come in here and just wilt, and Tennessee did not. There's no moral victories whatsoever in the Tennessee program. They've won too much recently to do that, but I agree with you. I mean, you walk away from this game feeling better than you felt about him when you woke up this morning.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Barnes, he was very upbeat after the game for these reasons we are discussing. He flat out said that he didn't think that his team was at all affected by the environment, which I think that is a great thing to learn about this team tonight because they didn't play that well at Florida. Texas was kind of up and down, not because of the environment. Vanderbilt, there's some talk about defensive miscommunications because of the noise at Vanderbilt. So for them to handle this environment, which pound for pound is the best environment in college basketball right now, I think that does tell you a lot about this Tennessee basketball team. And as Rick alluded to, it's only the end of January. There's a lot of basketball left to be played, and he feels like it seemed like Rick thinks that the ceiling, the potential of this team is even higher.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because you're talking about a game where, seriously, if one thing goes differently, it could be anything. It could have been in the final minute, final 10 seconds, could have been in the second half, one play. You come here and you're one play away, and you tell any coach in the country, you come to this building at night, college game day in town, you have the ball down to your senior leader, has a relatively clean look from the corner, you take that right now. Yes, 1,000%, 100% of them, 100% surveyed, take that. I mean, they just didn't make the play, and that's, we can talk about a lot of the things that didn't happen and why they didn't happen, and yeah, we need to, but I think the way they played tonight, you're not talking about them being mentally or physically tougher, you're talking about them executing a little better.
Yeah, and speaking of those things where they need to execute better, it obviously starts on the offensive end. They've got to find a way to get more. I don't even really know what they're looking for offensively. Are they looking for more consistency? Are they looking for a piece that they don't have right now? I think it's a combination of both, really. Maybe not a massive red flag, but a short red flag, if I can put it that way, of they need to find more. This was what Rick said post-game, but they need to find more consistency and more points from its front line in the paint. I think if they could get something going there, then I think the offense they need some guys to start making shots. Zakai said that post-game, that they need to start making shots, but they need to find some more in the paint right now.
Yeah, I mean, think about where Tennessee's been, not just this season, but last season. You have Dalton Connect doing what he did almost every game. He did something really, really well. He put up a lot of points. And so this offense for 2 years now, and with Lanier early this season, was doing the same thing. You were getting Superman from your two guard, and then you were doing enough of these other places. I don't think these other players are all of a sudden doing less. I think Lanier is struggling with the way people are throwing things at him, the bodies, the jersey pulling, the tugging. He's got to get through that wall. He's just physically, he's a big dude, but not quite Connect size, right? It's a little bit different, and he's not quite as strong with the ball as Connect was. So Tennessee's doing a lot of the same stuff offensively. They're not having Superman be Superman. So what's got to happen, I think, Ben, is they got to have Superman be Superman, or somebody else has got to do more, or everybody else has got to do 5% more, because that's what's got to happen. There's too many possessions where they're hoisting up a shot to beat the shot clock. They've got to get into their offense faster. They got to communicate and execute better.
And I do think you need to give Auburn's defense credit. They were on Tennessee like white on rice, and they were in the passing lanes. Tennessee was catching the basketball.
These coaches know each other.
Yes, they were catching the basketball, no room to shoot. whatsoever. And look, there, like you described perfectly, like there are ways Tennessee needs to be better in those regards. But I do think the defense of Auburn did have something to do with Tennessee's offensive performance tonight. And we'll end on Tennessee's defensive performance because as somebody in the program told me as we were walking out here, we were on their you-know-what tonight. Like Tennessee was on Auburn. And Auburn wasn't rattled or anything, but Auburn looked human tonight because of what Tennessee was doing to them, and I think Tennessee would love to see them on a neutral floor at some point.
Well, look at, Auburn told you themselves, look at the response to the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to be the celebration police. I think wins are really hard, man.
What would Tony Vitello say about Auburn's celebration?
Let them have it. You win the game.
Well, I say that in joke because they're back in the early Tony Vitello tenure.
Yeah.
Somebody celebrated on the field like Auburn celebrated tonight, and Tony talked about how they acted like they won the World Series.
Yeah, and I think, listen, I'm not going to be the celebration police. I think you win a game, you beat a team like this, in a game like this, an environment like this, you want to beat your chest out, you want to strut, do that, man. I don't care. But I'm saying Auburn, the response that Auburn had after that game showed you how hard that was for both teams. And I think it's interesting because they just have some guys who are like that. They've got some guys who are a bit extra, but Tennessee's had those guys before. The league's had those kind of guys with Marshall Henderson. It is what it is. But I think the way they responded showed you that. And again, I'll say this a million times, Ben, there's a lot of things that you have to learn throughout the course of a season. I would rather learn them now than learn them in March. And I think that's one good thing about getting kicked around a little bit, maybe not winning a league regular season title. If that happens, we'll see. But I think there's benefits to that because there's things you learn that you need to learn.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great effort from Tennessee tonight. Great effort from Auburn.
Yeah.
It was a great college basketball game, even if there were not a ton of points scored. I think you tip your hat to both teams and their effort tonight, and Auburn was able to execute just a little bit more than Tennessee was. And now Tennessee has a quick turnaround to face arch rival Kentucky on Tuesday night. Another big week for Tennessee coming up. You've got two rivalry games in Kentucky, which is always a big one. And then you've got the team that beat you by 30, the worst loss in the Rick Barnes era, coming up on Saturday. Back-to-back big home games coming up. We've got plenty of coverage here on the Plains to wrap up this weekend before we get to Kentucky and Florida. We hope the audio has been fine on this video. You can literally see Auburn doing their post-game radio show over the top of us, so apologies if the audio was a little bit difficult, but be sure to lock in to GoVols247.com for all of your Tennessee basketball coverage. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.